Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. Welcome to another Mission Minded Monday here with me, Asiya Nasir, founder of Utopian Enterprise Business Solutions and author of my book, Nonprofit Doesn't Mean No Profit. So, as I mentioned before, welcome to another Mission Minded Monday where every other Monday I come on here to talk about all things, related to nonprofits. And my mission here at Utopian is to help aspiring and existing founders fulfill their missions in real time. So, today is no different. We're going to be talking about a topic that I think is extremely important during this time, especially as we're transitioning from 2025 to 2026. And this can be, a time of transition. So today, what I'm going to be talking about is maintaining momentum during times of transition. So you might be thinking, transition externally, like, things that are happening in your local area or political climate, all of those different changes. But what I'm really talking about is internal transition and internal transition specific to your board of directors. That's really what I'm talking about here. And the reason why I'm talking about board of directors is because as we're moving into the new year, that's when you'll see a lot of board members that have, their tenure has ended, it's expired. There's votes for new board members to come on board with the new year and things like that. And during those times of transition, a lot of times the momentum kind of slows down when it should be picking up. And it's not uncommon, when you have a lot of transition with your executive team, a lot of the operational stuff, if not done correctly, is going to slow down because the focus now is on making sure that we have our board of directors replaced, recruiting, and all of those different things. Now, during that time, obviously fundraising is not the priority, or other things are not the priority, or even when it's an unexpected transition, maybe due to death, could be because of, people's lives change, as board of directors, because it is a volunteer position. They may serve a year or two, but maybe during that time that their term is intact, a lot of life changes can happen. Someone can be starting a family, and that now takes on a responsibility that they no longer can commit to the time and efforts that are needed for a board of director. Or they could become a caregiver. Something may happen to someone in their family that now they are caregivers. And if anyone knows caregiving, whether it's your parents or anyone, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of emotional energy is given to caregiving for someone, and that may interfere with them being able to sit on the board and be as active as they once was, which is necessary for any nonprofit. You need active board members that are engaged. So there's so many reasons why there could be transition unexpectedly and expectedly, like their term is just over and you need to now have new board members. And during those times of transition, there could be the momentum that your organization had as far as running programs, fundraising, all of those different things take a back seat. And those things are what keeps nonprofits sustainable. That's what keeps nonprofits credible. That's what keeps nonprofits going, where you don't see hit and misses. And it's like, okay, yeah, the program was on and now they're not doing the program, or they're saying coming soon. And, all of these different things that kind of like, okay, well, let me look for someone else. Let me start seeking someone else. Or grant funders start seeing this kind of hit and miss, funding can be a challenge, right? So what I'm going to be talking about are two strategies that you can do in order to avoid that, so that way you can keep the momentum going. So if you're doing really well, you're building, you're growing, you're expanding, you don't want times of transition, especially unexpected ones, to stifle or damage or sabotage. That's the best word. Sabotage your momentum, within your organization. So let's get right into that. So the first strategy is, when you have an active board, when you have all of your team members, in play, everybody's in position, that's the time that you should be cross-training other um, other board members. So if you have officers, whether it's the president, vice president, secretary, or treasurer, they should be cross-training other board members, right? They should be cross-training them. Why is this important? So that way, as I mentioned before, if there's ever a time when someone has to step away, has to take a leave, maybe step down from being on the board, this is where you are going to be able to pull from someone who already knows how to do it, because they've been cross-trained, they've been shadowing, they've been, kind of sitting with that person and being mentored into that position. Now they can just step in at a time when it's crucial, and so that way momentum is not lost. You just come right in and do. And if you have volunteers within your organization that you feel are ready to take that leap, where maybe they're interested in board membership, you can also shadow them as well. So if in the event someone, as I mentioned before, is unable to serve on the board for whatever reason, you have someone that can actually step right in. So there should be some cross training going on within, especially within the existing board, but then also, if you have some volunteers that are not on the board that have potential, that have shown interest and have expressed interest in being on the board, that should be a given. You should be cross-training them in the event something happens, right? So that's number one. So if you're not doing that now, you should be, for 2026, having that conversation with your board, indicating that who do we need to cross-train, so that way we can make sure that everyone is trained in every position. So if anything happens, God forbid, we have someone that can step right in, and maybe even doing dual roles if necessary. All right. So that's strategy number one. Strategy number two is, if you have board members that are active, a lot of times we stop recruiting. We're not looking for board members. We'll even tell people that are interested, oh, we're not recruiting right now. In a year or two, let's revisit this conversation. I would say, don't do that. Don't do that. Now, I'm not saying to have people on the board where now you got 15, 20 people on the board. When you're a grassroots nonprofit, you don't need that many people on the board. However, you should never actively be recruiting for board members and having what's called a wait list. Have a wait list of board of directors, keeping them in the know of what's happening with the organization, what events, so that way you can invite them, what exciting things are happening within the board. So although they're on the wait list, they have a pulse of what's happening with the nonprofit. So if at any point there is a sudden change, where we need to recruit someone and get someone, you already have board of directors waiting in the wings, wanting to step right into the position to be able to help you. And that way, momentum is not lost within your organization. So if it's fundraising, you got a big fundraiser going on right now, you want to make sure that you have that nonprofit board that can step right in and be able to move in, continue to do, so that way you don't lose momentum. Right? If there's things that you have to do within, internally, you want to make sure people are cross-trained and everything, so that way no one has to stop. The organization doesn't have to, like, oh my gosh, we have to put focus on this and kind of put this on the back burner. You don't want to do that, especially when you have momentum. So if you have people interested in donating, that's the last thing they want to see, is that the operational side of the organization is having some struggles. Because why would I invest in a company that's having some struggles, or they're lacking in capacity? You don't want to do that. So these are two strategies that I guarantee you that if you do right now and set yourself up for 2026, where you start, assigning people to cross train, start actively recruiting, even though you have an active board, actively recruiting for those that can sit on the wait list and keeping them informed. So not just interview them saying, okay, we're going to put you on the wait list, and then you don't speak to them again. You have no communication with them. You want to ensure that you are keeping in communication with those. So if you have a monthly newsletter, guess what? those potential board members that have interviewed that you feel would be great candidates and they're on a wait list, you want to keep them informed. If you don't have a newsletter, when you have important things happening like activities, events, anything internally changing, you should be keeping those potential board of directors informed. So that way, if you do need to reach out to them, this is not like a cold call. They're like, oh yeah, I interviewed with you, a long time ago. And even if they change, where they can no longer sit on the board, if you're keeping in communication with them, now you know who's waiting in the wings and who no longer is available to be able to sit on your board, so you can get right to the ones that are still available, not waste time, and just continue to keep the flow going. That's how your organization needs to be. That is how you have a system in place. That's how you have a process in place. And if you have a business, guys, and a nonprofit is a business, if you do not have processes and systems in place, you're not running a business. You are not setting yourself up to win. You're setting yourself up to lose. And that's not how any organization, and especially a nonprofit where literal lives are depending on your services, you want to make sure you're doing everything top tier. You want to make sure you're doing that, so that way there's no, because the ones that lose out is, yeah, the organization obviously is going to lose out on funding and stuff like that, but the ones that really lose out are the recipients that are seeking your services and whatever programs you say that you're going to offer. So they're the ones that are going to miss out. So keep that in mind when you're thinking this is not important. Think about who's really going to suffer if you don't. What's the alternative if you don't have this? And the lives that are being impacted. It's going to set that up on a priority for you. And it should be. It should be a priority. So that's what I wanted to share on this Mission Minded Monday. I see a lot of you kind of tuning in right now. If you missed this, you can always go to our YouTube channel, not Jessica Cares, Utopian Enterprise. I have so many YouTube channels. So my YouTube channel for this particular, business, Utopian Enterprise Business Solutions, we have a YouTube channel, Utopian Enterprise. You can find me, subscribe, hit that notification bell, so that way you don't miss another, Mission Minded Monday. And if you know someone who's running a nonprofit organization that they're having these type of struggles, or they're having this struggle now, tag them, share this, because sharing is caring. So you want to make sure that you share this information with them, so that way they can start 2026 the right way. If you are also a nonprofit organization, a founder or board of director that feel like, hey, we need to have this type of conversation, or someone come in and speak to the board, or the founder or executive director, that this is something that we really need to do, and you want to make it a priority, and you need some training and development. As I mentioned before, I'm a nonprofit strategist. So I can actually come in, see where you're at, look what you need, see what you need to do and how to turn it around. We don't want to be busy. We want to be productive. That's what we want to do, because you can be busy and doing nothing. I want you to be productive. This year, 2026, we can't afford to be anything but. So that is what, as I mentioned before, that's what I wanted to share with you on this Mission Minded Monday. Make sure you are maintaining momentum even during transition. So stay tuned for another 2 weeks, because I will be back on here, God willing, to be able to share another Mission Minded Monday that is going to help your nonprofit organization be able to fulfill its mission in real time.